On June 6, 1944, the largest amphibious invasion in history fails completely. The Allies are pushed back into the sea, the beaches are lost. Most people think a failed D-Day just means Germany wins World War II. But history isn't a movie where the villain automatically wins, it's a system. Losing this one beach doesn't save Germany, it actually ensures their total destruction. But it also means the Europe you know today never happens. Because without a Western front, someone else is going to claim the entire continent. By the time this timeline is over, Berlin is gone, London is broke, and America drops its first atomic bomb. Not on Japan, but on Germany. And your daily life? It gets rewritten by a series of surprising butterfly effects. To understand how, we have to look at the immediate panic on June 7th. Some historians argue the Allies would simply try to invade France again. It sounds reasonable until you look at the resources. Building a second invasion fleet would take at least a full year. But Britain is completely out of money, and America has another giant problem. The war in the Pacific is consuming half of U.S. shipping. Washington can't afford to wait. They have to redirect their focus to Tokyo. This leaves the European mainland completely open. Now, at first, this looks like Germany's greatest victory. More troops, more tanks, more time. So, did Hitler actually just save his empire? Not quite, because Germany's biggest bottleneck was never soldiers. It was oil. The Soviet Union is still pushing from the east, aiming directly for German oil fields. Without a Western front to worry about, the Red Army mobilizes even faster. Stalin doesn't care about casualties. He orders a relentless, non-stop offensive. The German army, starved of fuel, is slowly ground to dust on the plains of Poland. But because the German defense is so desperate, the war drags into late 1945. This changes everything for a secret research facility in New Mexico. The Manhattan Project completes the world's first atomic bomb. In our timeline, Germany surrendered before the bomb was ready. In this timeline, the bomb is ready, and Germany is still fighting. To force a total surrender and beat the Soviets to Berlin, President Truman acts. On October 12, 1945, Berlin becomes the target of the first nuclear strike. The blast vaporizes Nazi leadership, ending the war in Europe instantly. But there is no celebration in the West, because the bomb didn't stop the Red Army's momentum. With Western Europe completely exhausted and Britain isolated, local resistance movements collapse. The US is focused entirely on rebuilding Japan, allowing Soviet influence to spread further west. Soviet tanks roll past Germany and stop only when they hit the Atlantic Ocean. This triggers a massive geopolitical shift. Let's look at the new map. The Iron Curtain isn't in the middle of Germany anymore. It's in the English Channel. Britain stands completely isolated, bankrupt, and surrounded by a hostile communist continent. To survive, London has to surrender its entire global empire to the United States. If you are finding this fun, please give the video a like. And subscribe to the channel if you want more strange what-if stories like this. It really helps me a lot, and I truly appreciate it. Alright, now let's get back to the chaos. Now, a completely communist Europe sounds like a dark dystopian nightmare. But here's the strange part. It actually becomes the world's safest continent. With a unified Soviet-run Europe, competitive national borders are totally deleted. The state eliminates localized street gangs, and crime rates plunge to near zero. The Soviets build a massive, hyper-efficient continental high-speed railway network. You can travel from Rome to Berlin for pennies, and trains always run on time. But the trade-offs are brutal. There is no free speech, no independent business, and absolutely no consumer luxury. This economic shift ripples across the Atlantic to your garage. Because capitalist Western Europe doesn't exist, there is no Marshall Plan. America never injects billions of dollars to rebuild European factories. Instead, the new Soviet regime nationalizes all manufacturing. Private car companies are banned. There are no export brands. Without European import competition, Detroit's car giants dominate the Western market completely. They keep building massive, gas-guzzling V8 engines with zero pressure to innovate. Fuel efficiency laws are delayed by decades, causing carbon emissions to skyrocket. This rapid environmental crisis forces the Pentagon to treat energy as a national security threat. Washington throws billions into extreme defense projects, specifically supercomputer research. They need to calculate massive climate models and manage a completely automated military. This hyperfunding causes computer processing power to explode decades ahead of schedule. But because the country is on a permanent war footing, the government locks down the technology. In our timeline, the early internet branched out to universities and businesses. In this timeline, the network stays strictly classified. The military controls every single data packet. There is no public World Wide Web, no web browsers, no Google. Without a public web, there are no smartphones and no social media. This lack of global connection completely reshapes daily culture. In Europe, the Soviets push Cyrillic and Russian as the universal language. English never becomes the undisputed language of global business. Without a European market, Hollywood stays small. Pop culture remains deeply local. There is no IKEA, no cheap commercial flights across the ocean, no global tourism. You grow up buying only American-made goods and reading state-approved news. The world is stable, clean, and incredibly quiet. But it lacks the vibrant, chaotic freedom we take for granted. All of this, your job, your car, your lack of an internet connection, it doesn't happen because of a century of bad political choices. It happens because of a storm in the English Channel on June 6, 1944. If the wind had blown a little harder, if the tides had been a little rougher. The history we live in feels like it was always meant to be. But it hung by a thread on a single day, on a few specific French beaches. One successful invasion didn't just win a war, it built the open world you live in today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, it really helps me a lot.